And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael DeLon. Today, I am talking with Eric Grafstrom. And well, first of all, Eric, thank you for being my guest today.
Pleasure to be here, Michael. I'm excited for the conversation.
Well, I am too, because Eric does something that's really cool. He runs a company called Exit Guide. And so he helps small business owners, if I get it right, prepare to sell their business, whether
That's
that's
right.
this year or maybe 5 years down the road. There are certain things that business owners really need to have in place in order to sell their business. That's what Eric is expert at. That's what he helps people do. So tell me, Eric, how in the world did you get doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the kind introduction, and it isn't a little bit of an interesting story. As with many entrepreneurs, there's always kind of a wandering path to kind of getting to where you are any given day. So I had a very fortunate career. I spent all my time in early stage tech startups. Started early at a company that became broadcast.com. Worked with Yahoo, landed in Silicon Valley, and went through a whole bunch of tech startups. And uh, over the course of about 20 years working with a lot of early stage venture backed companies, not all of them work out. And so I had helped navigate, oftentimes as a CEO or COO, different types of exits.
Mhm.
Some were the good ones. Those are the ones that people like to talk about and read about. Most of them were not always the good ones. And it's just, this is what happens. So you might be selling the assets, you might be shutting it down, you might be trying to retool the company so that you could eventually have an exit. But in every case, the uniqueness of Silicon Valley and venture-backed companies is, regardless of the business part of it, you kind of always have access to these top flight talent. So M&A advisors, bankers, financial experts, lawyers, all this stuff. uh, Literally heard a story on the radio, and it was about small business owners that were trying to exit their business. There's a huge demographic shift that we can talk about in a bit, but they were struggling as to what to do with their business. And the more I looked at this problem, I realized that the big challenge is not necessarily helping them find a buyer and market their business. 80 to 85% of these things actually never sell. And I thought, why is that? And so the problem in most cases is that people have a business that may not be sellable, and that may be the nature of the business, but oftentimes they just haven't done what they need to do to get the business sale ready. So it's like selling a house, or so to speak. Like, you wouldn't just put a sign in the front yard. So I decided to really kind of turn this experience that I had with helping companies that oftentimes were well resourced, even in difficult situations, to have some form of an exit, to really helping this kind of mass market of Main Street business owners um, that eventually have to exit, but chances are they're going to fail. So how do we help them not fail?
Mm-hmm. I like that because there are a lot of business owners, I mean, people that I run with, right, who have
Yes,
built a business, but they haven't really thought too much about what do I do with it next? Because you know what? My kids don't want it. And I guess I could just close it, but you're losing the golden goose at that point in time. But there's a lot more to selling a business than most people understand. And I know
that's
just
right.
a tad. So I'm ready to pick your brain a little bit. Talk to us about some of the things. Let's say we have an established business that's been around 20 years, doing whatever. And the owner is getting to that point where they're like, okay, maybe in 3, 5 years, I don't know. What are some of the challenges, the thought process that they should be thinking about, and what don't they ever think about?
Yeah, all too often we hear from business owners that they don't know what they need to do, but also they don't have any ideas to how they want to exit their business. And that's kind of the number one thing. So yes, there's mechanics that you can do to prepare, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But a lot of this is, if you haven't thought about it, you need to start thinking about it. So, it may be, you have an employee or a business partner that, if given the right coaching and training, could eventually take the business over, but it's going to take time. It's not going to take 30 days or 2 months. It may be that you need to talk to someone in your family about what are their aspirations. Do they want to come into the family business? As you point out, it doesn't always happen, but you at least need to have these conversations. So, the first thing that I tell people they need to do is, do a little bit more than have a fleeting thought about this. Start having conversations and start thinking about how you want to exit and when you want to exit. And that's going to start to drive a lot of the tasks that we help people manage and go through. But it does, You don't want to be that guy showing up at the broker's office, the stockbroker's office saying, I'm going to retire in a year. What do I need to do? And they're saying, you should have come to me 20 years ago. So you don't need to think 20 years out, but you do need to think months, hopefully years out.
Yeah. Well, and some of the other thing is how do you find, like, I mean, I've interviewed a couple brokers, right? Business brokers and things. And I sit there and go, I wouldn't even know how to pick somebody,
Sure.
number one. And I'm sure they're going to say, oh, dude, you've got a lot of work to do. First of all, I think that's kind of how you help business owners start thinking through a process. I might not even be ready to sell my business, but I know down the road, 5, 10 years. And let's talk. I also want to talk about, you talk about exiting and the different ways of doing it, meaning, do I
Yes.
cash out? Do I keep it? I mean, some of those options that I think business owners don't even think about.
That's right. Well, let's talk about brokers first, because that does kind of differentiate. So, there are a lot of business brokers that are out there, and some are very, very talented. In our country and effectively around the world, we're dealing with a huge demographic shift. So 85% of small businesses in North America are owned by Gen X and baby boomers. So most of these owners are over 50. In fact, a vast majority are over the age of 60.
Okay.
So as the saying goes, father time is undefeated. So, what you're going to see is you're going to see a huge surge of businesses that are coming on to the market. It's already happening. What that means is, for the talented brokers, M&A advisors, and attorneys, they have more good business coming to them than they can possibly take on. What that means is businesses that are worth $5 to $10 million and more are going to gobble up all those resources.
Right.
And part of that is because they can afford them, but also those that are in a commission type structure, which is, I'll take a piece of the transaction. Do you want to sell a $500,000 business or a $10 million business?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, the other big number that I tell people they need to pay attention to is 90% of small businesses are worth less than $5 million. So as all these things flood onto the market, the good broker, even if you can find them, is not really going to have the time and interest taking on these businesses that are worth $300,000, $800,000, $2 million.
Right.
So where we've tackled the market is, we've said, look, good business brokers, that's awesome. If you can find one and they can help you, they can do a lot of this type of prep work and coach you and help you navigate the steps in the process. But if you're part of this 90% and you're about to age out, or you're ready to do something else, whatever it may be, chances are finding someone to really kind of help you move through this process is going to be incredibly challenging, if not impossible. So how do we bring forward technology with people supporting you to kind of navigate through that process? Because if you don't do some of the things that a broker might do, if you had a $10 million business, chances are once you get into it, it's going to fall apart. So we want to help eliminate that.
Yeah, that's really good. And I loved how you broke that down, is that, yeah, 90% of businesses in North America are worth less than 5 million.
Yeah,
But they're still great businesses.
that's right.
And they have a long future if
Yes.
you can find somebody to buy them. And I
Yes.
think a lot of business owners, look at their Rolodex and go, well, I don't know anybody at church or the country club. We
That's
don't
right.
need to. That's what Eric and his team help you do, is not only prepare the business, but I think help find buyers. Is that fair? I mean,
Yeah,
help us
it
understand
is.
that.
And there's different ways of selling a business. And a lot
Mhm.
of people kind of try to default to online marketplaces to list a business.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to name names, but there's some well-known names that are out there. And look, just give it some thought. You don't need my advice. You don't need to pay somebody to tell you this. But if you have a hyper local business, advertising it to hundreds of thousands or millions of eyeballs that are all over the country, or maybe even all over the world, isn't going to do you a whole lot of good. So I'm in Austin, Texas. If somebody is in Minneapolis looking at my landscape business, it doesn't really do me any good unless they have this definitive plan to move to Austin, Texas
Right.
in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
So one, you need to think about where your buyer is going to come from. And if it's hyper local business, chances are it's going to come from your local community. So some of the things we want to do is want to help you present the business with the right information in a, professional package. So we have products that'll kind of weave together information. You enter into an online dashboard, we add your branding to it, and now you've got something. And you may need to work with a coach who's just going to help you ideate. Okay, let's get out of your head. You've already told me you don't know anybody. That may not be true, but the reality is we could post this in an online marketplace, but that may not be the best use of your dollar.
Right.
Could be in some cases, but in most cases it won't be. So what we try to do is we try to take some of these best practices, say, here's how you package your business. We'll do that for you. Here's how you go out and take this into your local community, and you're putting your best foot forward. So many things that we see that really are unfortunate circumstances when, an owner goes out and they're excited and then they kind of kill the deal before it has an opportunity to really take hold because they're just a little bit clumsy with how they do it, as they should, because they've never done it. So how do we help them that if they want to contact 10 people, somebody looks at me like, this guy Michael really knows what he's talking about here. This is interesting. I like the way this is packaged. It has the right information. I want to learn more. So we want to help you get that first conversation going.
Yeah, and that's really good because it's interesting. A lot of business owners are great at what they do. They're not so great at marketing, right?
That's right.
And that's one thing that I've learned. God's given me the ability. I'm really good at marketing, and that's why we help a lot of business owners with their marketing and publishing books and things. But the same thing, if I went to sell my business, I am a novice. It would one of my favorite words from an old-time pastor, it would behoove me to employ somebody like Eric or something, go help me walk down this pathway because I don't know what I don't know, and I don't want to kill a deal, right? So how have you structured this? Because you've got a really interesting model. I want you to explain the model and kind of how it works if somebody's sitting out there going, well, yeah, I've thought about this, but I don't even have a clue what to do.
Yeah, so we've tried a couple of different things, and what we've learned is that most business owners, they want to know what their business is worth, but they then don't know what they don't know. Yeah. And so, and that's why I like to use the house analogy. If you wanted to sell your house, you would say, okay, I need to go around, touch up some paint, I need to make some repairs. I'm going to look at on Zillow or whatever it may be. What are properties in my neighborhood, selling for? What are they asking? What's the difference? You do a lot of that work. You would never think about just like, I'm not going to clean the house, I'm just going to stick a sign in it. Like, that's crazy talk.
Right.
So what we do is we have a series of questions that if you go to exitguide.com, we walk you through a series of questions. It takes about 2 minutes. And from there, we calculate what we refer to as a sale readiness score. And so what we're telling you is, hey, look, this is similar to automating the process of maybe a realtor coming into your house being like, look, you're going to need to paint the kitchen. You're going to need to do these things. That other stuff that you thought you really needed to do, don't sweat it. Just do a little bit of touch up there. But you got to get, if you need a new roof, you need a new roof. Here's the things you're going to do in order to sell your business at this price. And so what we want to do is we want to educate people that if you just invite a buyer to take a look at your business, you may be doing yourself a disservice. So what we want to do is want to take them from a sale readiness score, say 550 up to about 800. And it's like a credit score. It's just telling you, okay, this is where you stand. If you want to try it with the low sale readiness score, it's akin to applying for that home loan with a low credit score.
Right.
If you just take the time to slow down, be like, pay down my bills, do this, do that, give myself a credit boost. Okay, now my odds are in my favor. That's what we want to help you do with your small business.
Yeah, and that's really good because I think small business owners don't understand what a buyer is actually looking for when they purchase a business. And
that's right.
As a business owner who's grown a business for 15, 20 years, I am probably far too emotionally invested in my business. And I'm thinking that you, Eric, the buyer, want what I like about it.
Those are true words. And I'm glad the key thing people need to remember is you probably have an emotional attachment to your business. And so you see all sorts of opportunities that it's very hard for someone else to see. I hear this all the time from business owners, but it's a great business. Well, it's a great business based on what's in your head. What we need to do is we need to get some things out of your head and say, okay, that means there's an opportunity to grow top line revenue by 30% year over year by implementing these strategies. We can reduce costs by implementing these types of strategies. And so it needs to be clear. And then you also need a little bit of an objective viewpoint to say, yeah, you may think that's special, but objectively speaking, that's not what the market says. Right. And so people will start a conversation because of a great story. And then when the time comes is that they're buying a business, not a story.
Right.
But you have to have the story first. The story is, this is a marketer,
Yeah.
is what brings people in. So if it's that ice cream shop
Right.
in a town nearby, it may be, I've always loved the ice cream business. And I love this story about this couple who started it. They sponsor baseball teams. I love this story. But in the end, they're not going to part with their money or go get an SBA loan until they say, okay, I think I can do this to increase the cash flow of this business over the next 3 to 5 years. And now it makes sense. So you got to weigh both, but you got to get yourself away from being so emotionally invested in this that you can't really see some of the things that you need to do and how to present things.
Yeah. And that's part of what your program helps people do, right? As they walk through this. Explain just at a high level, and I know they can find it at your website,
Sure.
but how do you bring somebody in through an onboarding or a
So what you do is you come to exitguide.com, you take the sale readiness survey. That's free. You get a score. From there, you have the option of going kind of two directions. One is we find that some people already know who's going to buy their business.
Okay.
You've been my general manager the past couple of years, whatever it may be, and we really just simply want to get to a price. And so we have a valuation report that will basically use a market-based analysis. We'll give you a report, and if that's enough for you, then you get this report for $599. Off you go. And now you've got something that at least meets both parties' expectations. And those are situations where typically the seller's not trying to maximize for price and the buyer's not necessarily trying to negotiate the best deal. They're trying to do something that's fair for everyone and ensure jobs are secure, longevity of the business, so on and so forth. But in a lot of cases, we have people that really need some more hand-holding. So we offer what's called a guided exit. You pay $599 up front, you pay a monthly fee after that. And that's where you get access to not only a valuation report, but experts, you get the analysis. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of hold your hand from, I have no idea what I'm doing, to getting you through due diligence, to here's the structure of the deal. And now you've kind of gone through and not fallen down through that process. And so that's where it you can sign up for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever it may be that meets your needs.
Yeah, that's so cool, because you said a phrase there, due diligence. And I think a lot of business owners, A, don't have a clue what that means. And B, I mean, there are some things in due diligence that take time and expertise. And where would I find that, and how? And that's what your team is expert at and have kind of put together, is to guide a business owner down a pathway to go, here's what you need so that you can present yourself in the best light possible when that day comes. Fair?
Over 50% of deals die in due diligence. And
wow,
people who don't know what due diligence entails that number is probably much higher, right? I don't have necessarily data on that.
Right.
But when you look at what kills deals, one is it's that first step in the process where somebody kind of comes in and they've done no homework, or they just kind of try to wing it. And somebody gets cold feet, the asking price is out of whack in terms of what the market will bear. They're too emotionally attached to it. So you just simply scare off a bunch of buyers before everything gets started. So you see, over 20% of deals just right out of the gate just can't get to that next level. 50% fall apart in due diligence. People, don't have their financials ready. They aren't anticipating what questions to answer. And so, we want to get you ready so that when that question comes in, that thing you didn't know 3 months ago, you're like, absolutely, I can get you a cash flow statement to see if, we can do these things. And, you don't have to become an expert. You just have to know that you have this team of people behind you, right, and a dashboard that you can go into and share this information. It's the stuff that a banker would do for a complex transaction. We've just simplified it down.
Yeah. And really what it does at the end of the day, I think the word that just popped into my head is it gives that business owner confidence as they go to exit their business. Now, and I want to go back to this exiting. Talk about different types of exits. So sure. I could sell for cash. I could sell kind of on contract. I could stay around for a year or 3 years. Just talk about some ideas, because I think there's a lot of opportunities there.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some of the things that we'll start with the less positive.
Okay.
So you may have to simply sell your assets and close the business. And so now what you're looking for is an asset purchase agreement, or just simply liquidation of the assets. Okay. Now, if you can do that and pay down all the liabilities that you have, so what you owe to vendors and maybe to the government for taxes, and there's money left over, you get to keep that. Mm-hmm. So, this may be a effective. This may be a good strategy for some people where it's a struggle to find the buyer, they need to move quickly, or they just simply don't want to deal with the process. So that is indeed an exit strategy.
Mm-hmm.
The other would be, okay, I need to sell the business. And oftentimes when somebody has a buyer in mind, whether that's an employer or a family member, and when they come to us, one of the first things that we recommend they do is, hey, look, let's get you a valuation. It's a couple $100, and let's qualify not their interest level, let's qualify their financial wherewithal. If this business is worth $800,000, how is this going to get paid for?
Right.
Because you're generally dealing with small businesses. So this isn't someone who's come to the table with $5 million in their, Schwab account that they're just looking to go deploy somewhere. Right.
Yeah.
So, oftentimes these deals are seller financed, meaning the owner is going to take payments to pay for the business, from proceeds of the business. So that owner really wants to make sure that it's in very good hands, but also very capable hands. So it may be a 3 to 5 year loan, so to speak. There's some down payment, and then it gets owner finance. 2, you might get an SBA loan. SBA lenders like to see a buyer that actually understands and knows the business. So they're not necessarily looking for somebody who has tons of financial wherewithal. And that oftentimes is a little bit of a misnomer when people come in the door and be like, well, look, I don't really have all these assets. And say, look, the somebody who might be really liquid coming in the door and has no idea, and they need to put somebody in to run the business versus somebody who's been in that business for a couple of years. They want to see the person who's been in that business for a couple of years, because if it's a business that has good track record, SBA likes that. Now, it is a little bit, it's a government-backed loan. Like it ain't easy, but you can get it done. So the way that people can exit is, one, you can sell the assets and close the business. You can, sell the business, either use seller financing or an SBA loan. Or, the fourth is you may just say, hey, look, I need to stay in this business for a little longer to improve the valuation, or maybe it's something that I need to train somebody up to eventually buy, but I haven't really settled on who that person is. So we can work with you to start putting some of those systems and programs in place.
That's awesome. Thanks for just highlighting that, because I guess I want my audience to understand there are options. This is not like going to the big box store, Walmart or whatever, and just buying toothpaste. No. There are lots of pathways and aisleways, let's say, to get to the exit. Yeah. And I guess it's like going in the grocery store. You're at the back with the milk and the eggs, and you look up, you see the exit sign. There are a dozen ways to get to that exit sign. And I think the same holds true with selling a business and exiting a business. Is there are lots of routes to get there based on what do you as the owner want to do? What does the market have to do? Is your business right? All of those things that really stymie us, keep us from moving forward because it's too complex. Eric, come on. Yeah. You kind of simplified it through a technology-based system and human interaction at the same time, which I think is a really neat component.
It is in something that you said earlier is, look, we deliver software tools. It's like if you want to do your business formation online, you go to LegalZoom or Rocket Lawyer or Zen Business. There's a variety of sites that are out there walking through that process. So we have great tools and a dashboard that'll walk you through, write up this company summary, answer these questions to explain your financials, and it walks you through the things you need to go do. That's just what we deliver. What we are selling is confidence. Yeah. Which you said earlier. We win if somebody goes from, I'm a little terrified, I have no idea what I'm doing, to, okay, I'm not sure how this is going to go, but I feel like I'm giving this my best shot. I've done anything and everything I can to put the business in a good position. I feel ready to go through this process. If we've gotten you to that point and then can help move you through the transaction, that's what we're aiming for. What we don't want to have happen is, somebody has tried to kind of do this on their own and they've failed when they might have improved their chances with the nominal investment.
Yeah, absolutely. And your business is an investment. And and I'm speaking way out of turn here, Eric, but I think for most business owners who've built a successful business over time, they are probably leaving money on the table unknowingly because we're not experts at positioning our business to sell. Very much. I love your home analogy because you're right. If you do some paint and remodel the kitchen, you're going to get a lot out of it. But if you don't do that, you're going to get less. Sometimes that's okay because I need a fast sale. Other times I want to negotiate. I want to put my best foot forward, and how to present, how to talk. What questions would you expect a buyer to ask? Do you have the right
Yes.
answer? All of those are what you help a business owner navigate, learn, and things. Is that?
And you're 100% right. And you need to look at not just your business, but in the broader context. So if someone, I mean, look, if it's an employee who really wants to buy the business, they know the business, then that's generally down to financial wherewithal, numbers, and making sure that and we can help with that. It doesn't cost you a lot of money to kind of move through
Yeah.
that. But if you're out there competing with other businesses, that's where we talked a little bit about the emotion and kind of the personal view is, hey, look, if I'm looking at buying a business in Austin, Texas, or Minneapolis, Minnesota, I may be looking at 5 other businesses.
Exactly.
And if one owner is just on it and she has financial statements and a company summary and employee list and bang, 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 she's answering the questions and the business has got an attractive brochure that helps present it, versus somebody who says, yeah, I'll get my bookkeeper to
Right.
run that report. Well, she's out of town for a couple of days. Like, there's all these little self-inflicted wounds that are super common. And we kind of tell people, like, look, you're not just trying to get a deal done with this buyer. That buyer may be looking at other businesses, and it may come down to your preparedness, how well that you come across in those first few interactions. And if we can help you come across as professional, ready, prepared, and knowledgeable and confident, the odds of you getting that deal done and winning out increase dramatically. So yeah, it really is we want to get you confident.
Yeah, it's really, it's funny because a lot of what you're doing is this is what I teach in marketing. At one level, it's putting your best foot forward. It's a relationship to build conversation, so that in this case, you're going to be able to transact and make a handoff of your business. There is a relational component there at some level.
100%.
Some more than others, but you've got to be able to put your best foot forward, tell that story, engage them with some confidence, with some, as I would call, credibility, that you know your numbers, you know what's going on in the marketplace, and all of that. Eric and his team can help you. Now, Eric, dude, you have scratched my itch, and I'm not looking to sell my business, but I love what you're doing, and I know I've got about 20 other questions, but I'm going to hold those. How do people find more about you? Because what you've put together, I love. You have a technology base plus human help, and it just guides people down to wherever they are. What's their next best step after hearing this interview?
Well, you can do one of two things. If you feel like you're ready to go, just go to exitguide.com, and big button on the website, and it'll say start. And from there, you're going to go through the sale readiness program. And then from there, you can either sign up for our subscription plan to help you navigate the process, or order a valuation report. So it's fairly straightforward. If you have questions, and we have people, it's Eric with a C, so ERIC at exitguide.com. You can email me, and we're happy to help you. We are not going to sell your business for you for all sorts of reasons. And someone who comes in and promises you that they're going to sell your business for you, you should be a little bit skeptical. If it's somebody maybe it's safe, they've got a good track record, but all too often people promise. But when you look at the numbers basically tell you that if you don't do some of these things up front, you're going to join that 80+% of businesses that never sell.
Right.
And so, what you need to do is start thinking about it. Okay. When, why, and how am I going to exit my business? How realistic is that? Then you need to, you can come to Exit Guide. We'll tell you, like, where are you on the scale of actually being ready, sale ready? If you get a low sale readiness score, you don't even want to work with us, just please don't try to sell your business.
Yeah.
Like, do something to help, improve that sale readiness score. But so you can go to exitguide.com, or you can email me, Eric at exitguide.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and on LinkedIn.
Awesome. All right. So I'm going to have some of those links in the show notes, so that if you're listening to this on you're working, whatever you're doing, but you've thought about, or even if you haven't thought about, you need to be thinking about how to exit your business, because this really is probably one of your greatest investments in your life is your business, for retirement, for longevity, for all kinds of things. So it would be in your benefit to reach out to Eric directly through email. I'll have that in there, or exitguide.com. Look at what they've put together, and it's super
Yeah.
affordable. That's the other thing I really appreciated when I saw your website. I thought, oh, wow, that's like really affordable to get some guided
It
help
is.
to answer some questions and go, okay, yeah, maybe I've got some work to do before I really put this thing on the market or whatever. Reach out to them, exitguide.com, and start there, have the conversation, see how they can help you get your business ready to sell so that you can exit it profitably when that time comes. Eric, man, number one, thank you for what you've put together. I
Well, I
know that there
appreciate that.
are
And thank you for having me.
just hundreds of business owners out there that are going to be able to use your service and tell others about it, because you're the first one that I've talked to that's not just a straight out broker, which is great. That's awesome. This is kind of a hybrid approach that brings the best of technology, but also the backing of experts who can guide and answer questions and go, okay, I've got somebody to at least hold my hand through this really crazy rat maze. So thanks for doing that.
Absolutely, Michael. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Take care, my friend. Thanks for being my guest. And everybody, listen again next week for another great episode on Experts Speak.
Thank you.